Alright, truckers and truckers, time to take a look at second episode of the day, which is Profit and Lace. Quark was in the bar talking to Allura, one of his Dabo girls, encouraging her to learn Umaks by reading Umaks for fun and profit. Ron proceeds to warn his brother that he can't contact anyone of Ferenginar. He tries to brush him off, but later begin to believe the Dominion has invaded their home planet. They rush off to warn the crew, who don't believe it. Shortly afterward, Dax reports that the shuttle Grand Nagus has requested permission to dock at Deep Space Nine, and they're relieved. At the airlock, Quark and Rom greet the Nagus and Ishka, the mother of Quark and Rom. They explain they had to flee Ferenginar because Zek was deposed by the FCA commissioners for granting females the right to wear clothes with the amendment to the Ferengi Bill of Opportunities. Zek is replaced by Brunt, who has taken over the government's anti-Grand Nagus after financial chaos shook the entire Ferengi alliance. Zek is convinced his move makes good business sense and wants their help to reconquer an empire or die the attempt. Quark and Rom share a look and then rush after the former Grand Nagus. Zek declares Quark's quarters as headquarters of the sole legitimate government of Ferenginar as they walk in. He explains that the plan is for Ishka to convince the commissioners the Ferengi females are, indeed, intelligent, and that a more processed Ferengi economy will result. He's convinced she can win them over. It's clear, though, that Ishka is driving the plan. She has to remind him of it. She then goes further, saying she visions a female Grand Nagus in the future. This confuses even Zek, but the moment passes. Quark, Rom, and Nog agree to help Zek by sending messages to all F-32 FCA commissioners requesting a conference for Ishka's demonstration. However, it doesn't go well. Made a choice worse for Zek, and some even thought he died. Although commissioners declined, save Nova, who turned with Slugo Kola, who was a conservative man with a lot of influence. After a long session of calls, the group reconvenes at the bar. Zek can't believe it. Thinking he would have had better response due to the business, he sided with the commissioners. Ishka is somewhat optimistic, but then Brunt walks in, jeopardizing the plan. Coley orders an Elwasser from Quark and proceeds to gloat over his newfound power. The group asks him why he's there, but Quark continues berating them. Zek says he never should have reinstated him. Quark brings his drink, but Brent has changed his mind and wants a slug of cola, referring to Nova's expected appearance on the station. He plans to bribe him, but Quark kicks him out. After he leaves, Quark has to lie down. Quark doesn't rest for too long before his mother comes to talk to him. Saying he's feeling sorry for himself, she tries to cheer him up, but he's not in the mood. He says she has manipulated Zek ever since she met him, without caring for the consequences of her motives. She's offended, and Jurassic Quark can go crawling back to Brunt. Quark wants things back the way it was. The argument gets more heated as he exclaims she's the worst thing to happen to all of them. She now berates him, but then tries to call him something, but can't get it out. After Quark screams at her to say what she wants to him, she abruptly falls to the floor. In the infirmary, Bashir determines she had a heart attack and needed a new heart, but she will live after a few days' rest. Going at Quark, Bashir says she needs to be kept away from him, having heard Ishka saying it's all Quark's fault over and over. The group stares at him, always suspicious cover story for what happened. Helms leads Zek and Rom in the bar and apologizes. Zek says they can't postpone the meeting. Brent and his servant, Urilash, step in to ridicule them. After he leaves, Zek is determined to hold the meeting, and Ziska wouldn't give up. He then comes to the conclusion that Quark should impersonate her. Bashir successfully changes Quark to be more feminine, and now he's fully dressed up, though very uncomfortable and critical of his looks. Zek gives him his mother's notes, full of facts and figures. Lita also helps him with his walk, but Rom only chimes in with several good pointers. Quark quickly wants Rom to take his place, but Zek reminds him he's better with the business. Knockperson announces Nova has arrived early. Zek tells him to expect his other female advisor, Lumba, tomorrow. The group reminds Quark that all the things he needs to study before tomorrow. Nog greets Nova at the airlock. He's an extra Ferengi who immediately gives Nog a slug of cola and is insistent on meeting Ishka right away. Leaves himself there while Nog trails behind. He runs into Brunt, who insists on meeting afterward, and Nova agrees. Brunt attempts to thwart the meeting, saying Ishka is in the infirmary, but Nog is able to tell them both about Lumba, much to Brunt's confusion. Nova's unfazed, and now is intent to meet her instead. While the group is critiquing Quark, Nova arrives with a whole bag of Slogo Cola. Nova is excited to see Lumba and just have dinner with her that night, and she's going to Ferenginar the next night. The plan is very rushed, and nervous excitement is everywhere. During the Lumba, Nova is convinced of the opportunities that Zek's feminist approach presents. The main argument of this approach being that clothing included pockets, and females will thus want to make more money in order to save some to necessarily put in those pockets. While further knows that Nova's sales, which is suffered recently, can be improved if he markets to females. In the process of the talk, however, Nova wants a little Quark. Nova says it's time for dessert and invites Lumba to his quarters. Nova is very forward, starting to address Quark and chasing him around the table. He says he needs her and wants to marry her. Quark is increasingly able to brush Nova off when Brent bursts into announce the truth. Quark then tries to convince Nova, rubbing his lobes and even taking off his clothes for both them to see that he is indeed a female. Nova is not convinced and wants to go with Lumba, tells Zek he'll do everything he can, because that's what Lumba wants. Brent can't believe it, shouting as they leave, "His name's Quark!" Monsieur restores Quark to normal, but he manages to bar fairly early on his recovery, and he's still thinking about Nova. He's wondering Nova gave Lumba. Odo comes by as he usually does to talk about it. However, Quark's hormones get the better of him and he has to cry on Odo's shoulder. Odo lets it happen until he realizes Morn is watching. Six group come by to thank Quark and say goodbye before they leave. Ishka forgives him, knowing Quark made a good daughter. After Zek and Ishka leave, Allura comes to tell Quark that she has been studying Umox. Quark immediately tells her it's wrong of him to make her do that, and instead gives her a raise. Allura, however, thought it sounded fun. Quark says it's wrong. As she leaves, though, he comes to his senses and goes after her. Why am I not surprised? So anyway, let's take some cast and character notes from this episode. Armin Shimmerman watched both the 1959 Billy Wilder film Some Like It Hot and the 1982 Sidney Pollack film Tootsie for inspiration on how to play a woman. Quote, "The difference between those two films," he observed, "is that Tony Curtis is always weak at the camera as if to say, 'I'm playing a woman, but no, I'm really a man.' Dustin Hoffman's performance in Tootsie was, 'I'm playing a woman and I believe it. I decided I wanted to do the latter. I tried to be as feminine as I could," end quote. Armin Shimmerman reportedly hated the script for this episode, as he felt Quark did not learn anything from his experience as a woman. Indeed, the original script had Lumba crying a great deal, but Shimmerman refused to play it that way as he felt it was a negative stereotype against women. Shimmerman commented, quote, "I just don't think Quark learned anything apart from lace. That was disappointing. I don't mind Quark's sex change. I minded that nothing came of it." Sherman elaborated, quote, "Quark has been a chauvinistic pig all of his life. He becomes a woman. Should he not learn or realize something from that experience? That would have been a great episode. See Quark begin to realize the error of his whole cultural ways." Unquote. Sherman believed that, ultimately, the episode failed because it was half serious, half comic, and the two halves didn't gel. Quote, "It could have been a more serious, dramatic piece, could have been funnier. That was neither one nor the other." End quote. Chase Masters, on the other hand, enjoyed participating in this episode. Excuse me. She commented, quote, "I have to tell you, I had the most fun at Profit and Lace. Teach you Quark how to be a woman? How much more fun does it get than that?" End quote. Cole Meehan and Kara Glofton do not appear in this episode. Director Alexander Sagan endeavored to accentuate serious undertones in this otherwise comic episode. As Armin Shimmerman said it, quote, "He wanted to make it less of a comedy and more of an exploration of the relationship between a bickering mother and son. He tried to push the envelope and take Quark into an area that Quark isn't used to going in. I applauded him for it, though. as we reshot some of the scenes, with heart attack because he had a much darker vision than the writers had imagined. Cecily Adams also referred to a heart attack scene when discussing the episode, quote, "She wanted to explore how people who love each other really can't hurt one another. The first time we shot the heart attack scene, it was very dark and the piece was slow. It was actually disturbing. We didn't play it any different. We didn't play it any differently had we not been wearing rubber masks. Armin and Sid really liked it, but when I watched it in dailies, I didn't like it. Even though it was an interesting exploration of the dark side, I didn't think it was exciting enough. And apparently the producers felt that way too. They wanted it more humorous." End quote. And now finally, let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. The title of this episode may be a play on words referencing the second season episode Profit and Loss. William Sherman and Alexander Siddig regarded this episode was a development as effectively a comedic installment with more serious undertones. It was much of the tradition of the season 3 episode Family Business. This episode continues a multi-part episode arc that features Zach, Ishka, and Brent. It can be seen in the episodes Family Business, Body Parts, Ferengi Love Songs, and The Magnificent Ferengi. In Family Business, Ishka introduces female keen on earning profit, but Brent is the FCA liquidator sent to investigate her. Then in Body Parts, Brent takes Quark's business license away from him for backing out of a contract. In Ferengi Love Songs, it is revealed that Zach and Ishka are seeing each other, and Ishka is actually helping him run the Empire. At the same time, Brent tries to explain Zach with Quark's help, and returns Quark's license in an attempt to get support. Brent's plan fails, however, and he subsequently finds an FCA. You're leaving me. Then in Body Parts, Brent takes Quark's business away from him for backing out of a contract. In Ferengi Love Songs, it's real that Zach and Ishka are seeing each other, and Ishka is actually helping him run the Empire. At the same time, Brent tries to expose Zach with Quark's help, and return Quark's license in an attempt to get his support. Brent's plan fails, however, and he is subsequently fired from the FCA. A year later, in The Magnificent Ferengi, Brent helps Quark rescue Ishka from the clutches of the Dominion, and is rewarded by Zach with this old FCA job. The events of the Magnificent Ferengi are mentioned in this episode, like a Geiler both mentioned. The events of the Magnificent Ferengi mentioned in this episode, like a Geiler, are also both mentioned. Anyway. Rufus rules of Acquisition 194. Females and finances don't drink. I received a break consider this to be the final Ferengi show, commentary quote. If you look through the list, Profit and Lace was really the last Ferengi show. The Emperor's New Cloak is a mere universe show. The Ferengi portion of Dogs of War is only the A story or the B story, depending on how you look at it. So this was the nail in that coffin. So, yeah. But anyway, overall, I think this episode is kind of interesting, and yeah, not sure how I feel about Quark cross-dressing, so, yeah. So, overall, I give Profit and Lace. Overall, I think this episode's just okay, and honestly, though, I'm not sure how I feel about Quark dressing up a drag, and the fact that didn't learn anything at the end, it's just kind of, yeah. So overall, I give Profit and Lace 2 warp cores out of 5. When I tune in to the final episode of the day, times orphan. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.